Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 575 for June 19th, 2024. How's it going, everybody? I'm Josh KI6NAZ, and boy, it feels good to be back in the shack to do a Ham Nation episode. Trying to run that from Washington, D.C. while on my whirlwind New York City trip was no bueno. But thanks, everybody, for watching the live-to-tape retransmission up on YouTube that we did. So thanks for coming out. We have a really fun show. We're obviously looking at the episode before Field Day, which is the biggest live event in amateur radio. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but also the awesome world of amateur radio ballooning. So let's say hi to our host. How you doing, everybody?
Hello.
Hello,
hey.
hello. So Gordo, Gordo at the top of the pyramid. How you been?
Oh, all is well. Southern California is still here. We've had a couple of little minor earthquakes, and we are ready for Field Day.
Boy, I feel bad. I didn't even notice one of them. Was anyone of note, Gordo? Was anyone big? Was any of the earthquakes big? I don't even remember any of them. Oh, can you hear me, Gordo?
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, was any of them very big? I didn't hear any of them.
About Field Day? Oh, the earthquake.
Yeah,
the earthquakes were 4.4 and a 4.7, and not really big. But I was interested as to which emergency groups in the local area came up, and our local city, Costa Mesa MASAC, did, but no one else did. So I think we're ready for the next big one.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even notice it. So, of course, bring on a larger one, I guess. Don, how you doing this week?
Watch what you ask.
I know, right?
I'm doing great. Unfortunately, I have to work Field Day Saturday, so I will not be partaking of that. And then we're going to go listen to some live music, this Saturday night. So no Field Day for me, unfortunately, but had a great Father's Day. Tyler was out of town, but yet he got me an excellent Father's Day present. He got me, if you're a fan of the TV show Emergency, he got me the
cool
Squad 51
hat. Isn't that just so cool? From the LA County Fire Department Museum. You can get that LACountyFireMuseum.com if you want to get one of those or a bunch of other emergency stuff. It was my favorite TV show as a kid, and made me go and get my EMT rating. And I know of a lot of other people who have had 50-year emergency medicine careers because of that show, and it saved a lot of lives. So, and yesterday was my wife's birthday. So happy birthday, Dawn.
Happy birthday, Dawn.
Happy birthday.
So, it's been it's been a pretty good week. I think I'm gonna wear my hat since I can. And
looks nice and fitted. It's not one of those adjustable kind. It's got
that
nice back
fit.
embroidery. I like those.
It's a
nice.
Very
nice. Flex fit. Yep, the old flex fit.
Yeah. So Amanda, how you doing?
I am so excited. It's Field Day.
It is
one of my favorite all-time events all year long. So this year I'm going to be traveling around as section manager. So I'm going to be visiting every Field Day site possible, which is going to be about, I think I'm going to fit 18 in there. Oh, we're going to be running. But it's going to be a fun time. Anyhow, first thing I'd like to thank Frank, KG6 in LW for having me on a show last Friday. Did it from Camper Portable, and it was fun to have kind of a YL show with all the ladies there. Brilliant minds, a lot. Thanks, Frank, for that. But guess what? We're going to have information overload tonight here on the show. We're going to be talking all things high-altitude balloons, as well as more Field Day prep. And if I can find something to make noise every time you can earn some bonus points during Field Day, I'll ring a bell. Okay.
Question,
yes.
Amanda. Did you say 18 as in operators? 18 operators?
No, like 18 sites in Colorado.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, like we're driving.
Oh, that's right. Because they get extra points for having you out. So that's going to be fun.
They don't get any extra points for having me out, but it's just a great FaceTime.
Oh, okay.
So,
excellent.
ARRL publicity, so it's going to be fun. But think of all the food I'm going to get.
You know what? Get ready, Amanda, to honk your horn. You count as media being on this channel now and doing Ham Nation, so they could get media points for having you there, I think.
Okay.
There you go.
So
yeah.
publicity, there you go. So I have a wonderful guest to introduce tonight. We have Jim Langstead, KC0 RPS, joining us, and he's going to be talking all things high altitude balloons. He's located here in Denver, Colorado, and we're going to go over high altitude balloons, and we're also going to go over the Great Plains Super Launch that's happening at the beginning of August. So, Jim, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Give me your background in amateur radio and how long you've been doing high altitude balloons.
Well, I started in about the 70s with my novice license, and I had about a 30-year hiatus, and then I got general and extra. In 2003, my Elmer took me out to a balloon launch that this club in Denver was doing, and I got hooked. That was EOSS number 67, and I've been with them ever since, and we're now doing 361. So I've been around for about 300 balloon launches.
Oh, wow.
So that's the club in Colorado is called Edge of Space Sciences, and they do lots of science experiments for the students in the colleges around the area. Is that correct?
Yeah, we fly the balloons and track them and recover them. And then students develop payloads, a lot of aerospace programs at the universities, some high school STEM programs, and we even had some junior high school programs that put together payloads and take them up to bring them out on Saturday morning. We launch at daylight because the ground winds are lowest then, which is usually terrible for teenagers. But,
and cold mornings.
Yeah, it's often cold. But we launch the balloons, and then we try to get the students out to the landing site. And 50% of the time we get them out and they can actually see the parachute come down. So that's real cool. And then we ask permission from the landowners, and we can often have the students walk out in the field to retrieve their payloads. They can see how they landed, take pictures, and then bring their payloads back, and then they're busy in their car downloading data and looking at that. So it's great fun.
Well, I'm going to have Josh queue up some of the gallery photos from EOSS, and then you can tell us what kind of payloads they put on these balloons. Okay.
Well, we always fly 2 redundant APRS beacons. They beacon on 144.34, just a little bit different than the national APRS frequency. You can see that picture there. There's a parachute up at the top, and then the orange and green beacon is our beacon. We have one at the bottom of the flight string, so in case anything were to happen, very seldom does anything separate, but if it did, hopefully we'd have a beacon on each one. We have receiving equipment in our cars. We have computers in our cars that map out the where the balloon is, and the computer also predicts where the balloon is going to land. You can see the picture there. Down at the bottom are student-built payloads. We get all sorts of creative payloads built, and another one of our beacons at the bottom. I got to
tell you, those beacons look like the boxes that Ghostbusters uses to catch their ghosts in.
They look like CubeSats. Is that a CubeSat I spy?
Yeah, those are CubeSat format up above there. And down below there, that's a CubeSat. Some of these programs, the freshman program will be launching balloon payloads, and then they go on to rockets and some satellite if they can get a launch position. So we've seen some of our students go on to bigger and better things. It's kind of neat.
Wow. And what kind of experiments are they doing, or do you even know?
We don't, a lot of the time it's just a black box, but you talk to the students, they measure, CO2 and methane, ultraviolet. Sometimes they'll fly seeds and subject the seeds to the rarefied atmosphere. There's a little bit additional radiation up above, but not enough to really affect things. I'm a health physicist, so I know that sort of thing. And we don't allow any live animals or pyrotechnics. So
probably a wise idea.
Yeah. They used to launch cockroaches. One of the schools said anything that was small enough that you wouldn't mind squishing it if it was in your bedroom. But we've even done away with that pretty much.
Well, did they come back alive or not?
If they don't freeze to death, you have to insulate them, because you're talking about 40 to 70 below zero Fahrenheit at 40,000 feet. Interesting, when you get up in the stratosphere, it gets warmer again, up to 32, maybe even 32 above zero. But then it has to come back down on the parachute through that cold. That's a big deal with student payloads, is making sure that it's got enough battery, the batteries can withstand the cold, and that there's enough insulation while keeping the weight down to a reasonable amount.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, this is a serious question. Are you guys affected by the Chinese spy balloons? Are people trying to shoot your balloons out of the air? Those kind of things?
The Chinese spy balloon did create some concern. Our FAA people that we interface with have not had any problem with it because we worked with them for many years. Senator from Arizona, the astronaut,
Scott, right?
Kelly.
Yeah.
He did introduce a thing that said that we need to regulate amateur balloon flights and have identification on each and every one. But we now understand that NORAD and the Air Force are monitoring the ham radio websites and frequencies where balloons are posted. So
really?
it's raised awareness, but it hasn't affected us to this point.
Okay.
When I talk about pico balloons, I will tell you about one that probably did get shot down.
Ah, interesting. And Josh is just showing some pictures of the students gathering there. Well, let's talk about pico balloons while we're at it.
Well, first of all, let me point out what you're looking at here is a large latex balloon that's designed to rise up to about 100,000 feet. As it goes up, it expands and then it bursts.
All right.
And then the payload comes down on parachutes. That way, it only goes about 70 miles out to the east. We can drive out and recover it and get the experiments back to the students and our radio beacons back to us. A pico balloon is a small balloon. It's about a 36-inch party balloon with a very lightweight beacon on it. It rises up to about 40,000 feet and then levels off at that altitude because it's got a stronger balloon that won't burst. And then it'll float in the jet stream. And if you get it in the jet stream, they'll go all the way around the world. The record holder that I've heard about has been up for about 750 days now and has probably gone around the world 30 some times.
Wow.
These things will beacon either on APRS. They're solar powered, so at night they go to sleep, but then they wake up the next morning. They'll either beacon on APRS or they'll use 20-meter whisper, which is kind of interesting because there's lots of whisper stations around the world. And some people have devised an approach where they can put the altitude and the temperature and the battery voltage into the whisper packets and decode that, and then they put it on the APRS. So you can track them that way.
That's pretty neat. And we have some websites to go look at where we can see some of those tracking. By the way, Hamvention also launched a high altitude balloon that they just lost the other day, but it circled around a couple times, didn't it?
Yes. Bill Brown, who's the father of amateur ballooning here in the U.S., launched 2 pico balloons from Hamvention in Xenia, and they went. One of them went all the way around the world, and the other one made it over into the eastern Mediterranean near Israel and Lebanon, and where they're having all sorts of problems now. And it disappeared. We don't know if it went down in a thunderstorm or if it was taken down by other means. The second one of those balloons did go ahead and go all the way around the world, came back in about 2 weeks to Ohio, and then it started around the world again. And when it got over into that same area, it disappeared. So don't know for sure what happened.
Suspicious is what we call that. Okay. Well, Josh is going to bring up one of those websites. How about the Sonday one? Josh, and we can see some of those picos that are out there right now.
Okay. Here's a map. This is called amateur.sondhub.org. And it monitors the pico balloons that have been launched. And you can see this, and if you zoom out, you could see the rest of the world, and you'll see that there's a bunch in different places. At any one time, there's probably a dozen or maybe 15 of these balloons up. There you can see the track of a balloon, and that kind of looks like Israel.
Now, this is really small to me, but I'm guessing that's all the telemetry there on the top left.
That was over. Yeah, that was Peru. I'm sorry. Yes, on the left, it'll show you what altitude it's at, latitude and longitude, that sort of information. And you can turn on the track for the last 7 days or 2 weeks or something like that and actually see where the balloon has been. That's kind of neat.
Okay. And then obviously, it look kind of like with APRS, everybody, aprs.fi, you can just type in whichever one you're looking for as well. But a list does pop up on the left when you first go to this website, so you can kind of see what's out and about. And I haven't had a lot of time to play with this site, so I saw some cars and stuff on it, icons. Are those just chasers, or what is that, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
Chasers can beacon their position and show where they are tracking. These are typically the latex balloons, because a chaser doesn't follow a pico balloon because it's never going to come down. But this is really neat from an education standpoint, because kids get a real feeling for geography and world location and everything. They can zero in on their balloon once a day or a couple of times a day. They can see their balloon, see where it is, learn about, talk about the countries that it's over at the time.
And
interesting.
We have a great question coming up here. W6IWN would like to know, how does launching a balloon work with air traffic?
Okay, if a balloon is small enough, it does not fall under most FAA regulations. A couple of the FAA regulations that it does fall under have to do with flying in a class airspace right around a large airport and that sort of thing. But most of the time, the FAA does not need to get involved. If the payload string under the balloon weighs more than 12 pounds, then there's a bunch of other FAA requirements that includes notifying them, having tracking equipment on it, a method of cutting it down, and that sort of thing.
Okay. My next question is just for me personally, and maybe other people are wondering two things. How do they get involved in this themselves? And B, who funds this?
Okay, the large balloons are funded by the schools that have the programs where the students are building payloads and flying them. The pico balloons, most everybody finances them themselves. You're talking a couple $100 to do something like that. And that is a way that you can get involved with a small balloon like that. Beacons, there's a number of people that manufacture beacons for on the order of $50 to $150. You can buy something like that, or if you're exotic enough, you can build something like that. So that's a good way to get in it. The other way to get in it is a small latex balloon. Get some helium from a welding supply store and launch that, track it, and recover it.
Ah, okay. Or find a good old club like EOSS, I would say. Let's see. I don't think I saw any other questions. So we're going to lead up to. Do the student payloads go through a thermal something prior? Okay. Sorry, it's cut
verification,
off too.
thermal verification. It looks like I got cut.
Yes, some of the students, we don't organize that, but some of the programs do have tests that they do with the payloads. And the thermal test that they usually do is to get a styrofoam container, fill it full of dry ice, and then put the beacon in the styrofoam ice chest with the dry ice for a number of hours or overnight. And it should be still operating the next day.
I got to say, it sounds like you guys play with some dangerous stuff. We got helium in the mix, hydrogen in the mix, and now dry ice. This is a student's dream come true. That's all I can say. Well, let's talk about the Great Plains Super Launch, this is another way people can come and learn about high altitude balloons, right?
Yes, yes. Now, annually, since about 2003, the amateur balloonists have gotten together. And it was originally called the Great Plains Super Launch because Paul Verhaage, KD4STH, was getting his PhD at, is it Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas? Or is that University of? I forget. But anyway, he organized a get-together of balloonists, and it's happened every year since then, except for COVID, of course. And Eduspace Sciences is sponsoring it this year. It will be April 2nd and 3rd in Colorado Springs.
August.
August. Yes, 2nd and 3rd in Colorado Springs. And what it'll be is actually Thursday. People can come and we'll have a couple of tours. Colorado Springs has a plethora of fun things to do. The group will get together for that. And then on Friday, we have technical talks. We're going to meet at Pikes Peak State College, Rampart Range campus. And there'll be talks that people give on various aspects of ballooning that they are currently doing. Students will be involved. I know there's a student that's coming from University of Alabama, and then the Colorado Space Grant Consortium, which are students from Colorado, will be coming and preparing for a launch. And then on Saturday, we have a mass launch. And you can see the picture there at the top of that screen is a bunch of balloons getting ready to go. What we try to do, there's probably be about 10 latex balloons and 2 or 3 pico balloons. And we try to launch them all at the same time, and they float up. And actually, it makes for some neat pictures. Of course, cameras and GoPros on balloons like this are very cool. And if you launch all the balloons at the same time, sometimes you can get pictures of other people's balloons in flight, which is kind of
that would be really neat, actually. And I love those at the actual Eduspace photos. They're really cool. And I'm going to address a comment. Helium is far safer than hydrogen. Agreed, sir. But helium is also really, really expensive compared to hydrogen, and that's why a lot of these folks use hydrogen instead.
Yes, and we have put safety precautions in place that have protected us. We've never had a disaster or a problem with that. So we're careful with it, and we do keep the students at a distance while the balloon is filled and brought out.
That's right. The EOSS actually has somebody they call their balloon meister. Very nice guy. Yes. Okay, well, anything else we need to know before we let you go?
There are a couple of ways to track the balloons, and you can do that. If you look at the EOSS website, you can see when a launch is going to occur, and there is a payload plan that is posted on the website. Take a look at that payload plan, because that will tell you the call signs and the frequencies for the beacons that are on the balloons. If you're close enough, you can listen for those beacons. When it gets up to 100,000 feet, where the radio horizon's about 450 miles, so that's kind of neat. The other thing you can do is you can go to aprs.fi and you can watch the beacons there, or you can go to our website, which is track.eoss.org, And there you will see the same software that we have in our cars. But this is from a base station, and it shows you where the balloon is and where it's predicted to go and land. If you're interested in the Pico balloons, like we saw earlier, amateur.sonedhub.org. Sonedhub, like Radio Soned, is the place to go to watch those. So there's some options you can do on the web, and you're always invited to come on out to a launch and see things as it really happens.
Very cool. Well, I know a lot of the EOSS group, and great bunch of characters you all are. So thank you so much, Jim, for being here tonight, and have a great field day. I think you're doing some weather balloon hunting. Is that correct?
Yes, we're not being good boys. We're going to go chase weather balloons. Third thing I didn't talk about was the Weather Service launches 2 balloons a day from 89 different locations here in the U.S.
Oh.
And the fun part about going out and chasing those is we don't have to launch them, we don't have to fill them, we don't have to worry about students. We can just go out ourselves, run around, track those down, pick them up, and then go to breakfast.
Nice. That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Let's see, where are we going now? We're going to Gordo. Take it away, Gordo.
All right. Jim, thank you so much, and safe ballooning. Well, this weekend is the nation's largest ham radio get-together over the airways. 40,000 amateur radio operators will all be on the air for Field Day. So let's take a look, and just a quick look at some of the tips that we've learned from doing field days for the last, 50 years myself. Well, this is our local city's City of Costa Mesa, which is also a RACES unit field day station. This particular station is unique in that all of the operators are under the white tent, all together nice and close, and all of the antennas are spread out hundreds of feet away with a ton of coax cable. But this points out, if you're going to be having the general public looking for your field day station, get those signs up and have an attraction like this, and have someone, have someone right there to greet those folks coming in going, what the heck is this? So don't let them just sort of wander around and feel like, well, I guess, they're weird. But have someone that will really show them the importance of ham radio. Now, it's also good to have a field day plan, and this plan is just opposite of what you saw, and that is all of the operators are spread throughout a big area, and their antennas are fairly close to each operator's station. So on this one, to see the action and the antennas, one visitor would need to walk all the way around and take a look. And that's a little tough if you don't have a guest operator that's going to shadow and help these new folks understand what's happening. To them, this is what they're thinking. Oh my gosh, all of the wires, I don't get it. So very important that if you have a public field day location, have a couple of hams that are great for gab to link up with these individuals coming in, because we've had individuals and we say, well, what do you do? Well, I'm the fire captain for, or I'm the mayor of, and you find out that they're high-tech people visiting your site. Years ago, our field day site on a big open field here in the Southern California area attracted Art Goddard, Silent Key, but an ARRL director for our area. And that's always nice when you get that kind of attention, especially from league folks that are really behind field day. And here you see all of the radio operators at one spot, and their antennas are spread out a long way away. For nighttime operation, it's good to conserve battery, and we use the LED strips. These LED strips come from Wired Communications down in Arizona, but there's one precaution to them. No, they don't get hot. Yeah, they really get out a lot of light. The LED strip itself is absolutely radio quiet, but the dimmer that may go to this. The dimmer is PWM, pulse width modulation. It's a killer on high frequency. It will cause any high frequency operator to drop to his knees or her knees going, what is this noise? That's because you put it on dim, and don't blame the LEDs. It's the pulse width modulation dimmer. A lot of radio clubs really get into field day. Here's the Orange County Amateur Radio Club. They'll be on the air big time. And, all of the operators have a frequency chart just to make sure when they're operating at band edge that none of their signals slops over. So if you're on lower sidebands, stay at least 3 kilohertz up from the edge of where we go from phone to either no man's land or CW. And if it's upper sideband, stay 3 kilohertz below the top edge of the band. Here we see a new operator. It's got a big radio, has that wonderful Heil headset, and on the big radios, they work fabulous. And there is a downside, though, when folks are using headsets. And let's take a look further, and we'll investigate what that is. Well, for digital, you don't really need the public to hear just a lot of audio, although it's fun to listen to FT8 and some of the others. But important in this shot is make sure your digital op has some sort of a sunlight barrier so they can still see their screen. Just a laptop with an open screen, it's going to be a no-see until about 8 o'clock at night. So make sure they have plenty of shade. And here's an operator right next to a giant solar panel. And again, the panel is going to be radio quiet. However, you may find that some, not a lot, but some have a PWR type of regulation or a more exotic one to get a few more milliamps out, and they are noisy on HF. So if you're an HF operator for field day, make sure you know whose solar is going where, and especially those LED lights. If you're going to be operating your own station, you want to make sure it's not going to get real dusty and full of sand and stuff if you're going to be operating in an area prone to wind. And these are nice cases. I see a lot of neat hams using them. But what I do is I take the radio out of the case, and inside the case, I put about a 12 amp to a 20 amp bio-InnoPower lithium iron phosphate battery. Then I put everything back together, and it's great. Got a military type Yaesu radio on the bottom, and on the top, I've got the Icom 706. Old technology. Great. Thank you, Amanda. But,
five contacts on battery power. Everybody will get you 100 points.
Aha. Okay. And we recommend for the public to hear what's going on, have speakers as well as the headphones tied into your radio. In fact, if you got an older radio like the older Kenwood here without noise reduction, DSP, you can get DSP speakers from West Mountain Radio, even Heil at one time had a nice DSP speakers. But let the public hear what's going on. There's nothing worse at field day than to have an operator going, oh my gosh, you're all the way over there where our QTH is, and then there's silence. They don't hear anything. The operators are going, yeah, wow. But so get a speaker tied into your headphones, and that way the speaker volume can be adjusted, and people coming up, looking over your shoulder, can hear what's going on at the other end of the radio circuit. Now, the Heil headset, this is a wonderful headset, and this is one of the first. That's Dave and Heather, and they're located at Quartzsite, Arizona for this demonstration. We tied the headset on a lot of the newer radios, and it was wonderful. Then we tried it for VHF operation on a deluxe VHF radio, and it was terrible. No, not the modulation, not hearing the receive station. What was terrible was as soon as he'd go to transmit, he couldn't hear his own voice because the muffs were so good. You need some sort of feedback. Well, Bob Heil solved that problem, and he's come up with another little patch cord that can tie into the output of a speaker of a radio. But still, we need that to be another radio where it's listening to your transmit side. So if you're going to get a big set of exotic headphones, make sure your radio, your high frequency radio, has a monitor capability so you can monitor what the heck you're saying, because you aren't going to hear your voice with those on there. And the only way around that easily for VHF and UHF is with that little Heil extra wire plug into a handheld, monitor the frequency you're on, and now you can hear your own voice when you go to transmit. Again, the solar panels, all of them usually have voltage regulation, and the Bio-Eno power batteries also have a voltage circuit that will trip out if the voltage gets too high. And the rig runner, these type of devices, many times will have a buzzer, and they'll let you know when you've exceeded 14.990 volts. And I like to have a meter on there so I can see them. But remember, during the daylight hours, sometimes the digital meters are not half as visible as what I have on my pack, and that is an analog meter for daylight viewing. Always have a CW station because kids find CW fascinating. And here's an operator, and away he goes, and he's got everything going for him there. But the people behind him listening in won't hear the other side of the CW contact. And of course, fly your colors, American flag, American Radio Relay League flag. And I'm not sure what that third one down is, but here's a tower. Looks like the wind's blowing a little bit, but all those beam antennas. And you know, for field day, putting things together, if you've not put it together for a year, you go, these are all marked, and if they're marked ahead of time, everybody will think you're an absolute genius putting together high-frequency antennas, elements, reflectors, directors. Man, look at that. Well, you got them all marked, so you're ready to roll. And as for how far you push them in or push them out on the director, the reflector, and other elements, have a mark with a little thing there. And you're going to find that even though the antenna was resonant for your testing at one spot, it's going to be within probably a half an inch on those sliding elements with a hose clamp. We don't see it in the photo, but the hose clamp that'll keep it in place. And that's a great way to be able to get it assembled and resonant. Notice that we even have the element numbers on there. Director 1, Director 2, reflector looks like a 1. You get the idea. So mark them ahead of time. And if there's kids around, kids love putting stuff together. Maybe they don't, but we get them to go into the kid position, and that is getting down there on your hands and knees and putting them together in the dirt or whatever. Well, for us old guys, Orange County Club has done it up right here. Here they're assembling them on a sawhorse, and this is a great one. However, one gentleman is not wearing glasses, and you should all have safety glasses, especially around high-frequency antennas that usually are bare and very sharp aluminum. Look at this. Is this great? Again, the Orange County Amateur Radio Club. They've got huge towers, thanks Dino and the team, and they have bandpass filters, and they've really got a nice setup. And they've tried to space them as far apart as they can, and they've done a great job, and there was very little interference. However, safety. Watch out for your eyeballs. You only have one set. Safety, and watch out for anything else that could get you poked or whatever. On tie ties, make sure to cautiously snip the tie ties absolutely flat so that they're not going to either tear your arm or scratch your face. But be careful when you close these Dykes cutters, you're going to find that right-hand side is going to go like an arrow. So make sure that you're very cautious when you're cutting tie-ties and don't have any sharp ends hanging out there. And get kids involved for field day. They love it. In fact, coming up at 11:34 in Southern California and likely to the north and down into Mexico to the south, the International Space Station has a wonderful pass. Heavens-Above will tell you passes that are in the daylight that you can't see. But if you go to 437.800, that's the output of the crossband repeater. I won't even tell you what the input is on 2 meters. Well, I will. It's 145.990. Don't even try to transmit. Just have it so everybody is excited to hear the space station. The transmit side, you're competing with directional antennas running hundreds of watts on field day. The best thing is listen. And if there's not too much signals going up all at once, you're going to hear some exciting sounds of the crossband on the International Space Station, 437.800. As it's coming towards you, coming up, tune about 10 kilohertz higher as it's going away a couple kilohertz, 5 kilohertz lower. On the 2 meter side, for those that have transceivers with APRS, go to 145.825 as the space station is coming up mid-morning. 145.825. Don't have to worry about Doppler shift there, because you're much lower than the UHF side. At 145.825, you'll see call signs coming out of the International Space Station's equipment. So that's a test. Tell your folks who can see because then read them to us. So that's fun, and that's going to happen on field day, 11:30 Southern California time. And watch out when you're walking. Watch out for things like this. LMR 400 stiff coax will do that. At nighttime, you'll be walking along and bango, you're on the deck. Well, luckily it looks pretty soft, but watch out for trip hazards. And again, get the kids involved, many with a tech license going, well, I can't work 100. They can work thousands of miles via ionospheric skip, hopefully this Saturday and Sunday, 28.3 to 5, put them on the 10-meter band voice, upper sideband. And get them on to hearing the space station. That's Clint Bradford, who is doing another, as he does almost every evening, demonstrations to clubs about tuning into satellites as well as space stations. And on kids, if they're not licensed and they're pretty young, I like to give them a mic on a, quote, radio. But this radio happens to have a PA on it. So when they transmit, oh my gosh, I'm hearing my voice. And that to them will keep them busy for some time, not realizing it's actually just a PA system that we use. But it gets them on the air. And get the kids on the air. We hooked up with a station. Yeah, you got it. We hooked up with a station in a foreign country, and the young man on the left was having a hard time understanding them, and the other one said, "Can I talk?" The other one was younger, not licensed, so third-party traffic, sure. So the young one on the right started speaking Espanol, y tenemos un bien día, and they were talking back and forth in Spanish, and that was a time to be remembered by both kids. Kids are fantastic at field day to keep them busy. Give them a handheld if they're licensed, and let them work some stations as well. Double check for working the satellite, the space station to hear it on 437.800. Double check that those rechargeable batteries are always up. And you can even use the small little FRS radios for coordination. They're low power, but they won't interfere with a UHF operator. And here we have operators talking about traffic control and so on around the field day site. And Jim, here you go, buddy. It's a green tank. I hope it's not just oxygen. Maybe the color is not quite right. I think it should be, I'm not sure what it is. Helium, I hope. But if you got enough helium, hundreds of dollars worth, you can go ahead and fly a 160-meter balloon if the wind is absolutely not blowing. All right, Amanda, let me hear that horn again. You got to have food.
Absolutely.
She's choking on some of the food. Anyway, you got to have food at field day, and you'll find out the best cooks around. And the ones that are not the best cooks will grab that handle, not realizing it's cast iron, and they'll have the perfect imprint of a field day reminder on their hand for a couple of weeks. So get it out there. We're going to try and give you some good signals from 6 meters, and even working Josh on Saturday afternoon at this spot that I go to, and we'll be working him on 10. Oh, no, not 10 meters, 10,000 megahertz X-band, and that'll be with that brand new Icom setup, and we'll be working microwave big time. So for field day, have a great time, and let's hope to hear you all on the air. And we'll be using this rig here. That's my venerable Icom. In fact, here's the latest from Icom America.
The wait is over. Come see Icom at Hamvention 2024 in Xenia, Ohio from May 17th through 19th. Also, you won't want to miss a sneak peek of an upcoming mystery radio release. Upgrade your station with one of Icom's fabulous HF radios. With the IC7610, faint signals are no longer challenging for DXers and contesters. The high-performance RMDR can pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. This is the SDR every ham wants. With Icom's IC905, VHF contesting is a breeze. This all-mode rig covers 5 bands with one radio. 2 meters, 70 centimeters, 1.2 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, 5.6 gigahertz bands, and with the optional CX10G transverter, 10 gigahertz. Large color touchscreen, easy D-Star settings, and a separate controller and RF module configuration to reduce signal loss. Explore the world of microwave with the IC905. The IC705 and IC7300 are the perfect go-to rigs for outdoor hams who love POTA and SOTA activations. Both radios feature a large touchscreen with real-time spectrum scope and waterfall for intuitive function and setting operations. The IC705 provides base station features and performance in the palm of your hand from HF to 50, 144, and 440 megahertz. The IC7300 is an industry first, using RF direct sampling in an entry-level HF radio. If you're getting a head start on hurricane season, Icom's IC7100, ID5100, ID50, or ID52 are the perfect traveling companions and should be on your go-kit list. From high-powered base stations to compact and travel-friendly handhelds, Icom radios offer in-demand features and functions to keep you active on all bands, inside your shack or out in the field. For more information about Icom's amateur radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur today.
And a big thank you to Icom again for sponsoring Ham Nation here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Every time we're live, and I should have another... There we go. Every time we're live for Ham Nation, we give away 3 swag packs that Icom selects, and I'm going to give you the winners right now. Then I'll tell you how to get involved in this. Justin J, KQ4PAR, James K, K4LSO, and John H, KF8BGB. You're all getting a swag pack. And if you'd like to get entered into the drawing every time we go live here at Ham Nation, click that little Enter Now button. There's a link to Icom America in the video description. And at the end of every month, they give away a radio. So what's it going to be next month? Let's see. September, July. They're doing a V3500, and then after that is going to be a V86, and then we start amping up the prizes until we get to the end of the year for the ID52. And if you're curious about my field day, well, I'll be with W6TRW, my club, down in Palos Verdes. If you go to their website, just Google it. You can find out the information. I'm running QRP. Everybody's all QRP, so I'll be having the 905 and the 705, and I've got pretty much all the bases covered. So hope you're active for field day. It's going to be a hoot. And next up, to talk a little bit more what's going on in the news, is Dawn.
Well, hello, Josh. Thank you so much. Appreciate being here, part of the team and everything. Well, why don't we, speaking of teams, we've got a whole team of people at Amateur Radio Newsline. We have had since 1976. So why don't we get the latest from them right now?
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2433, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. With Hamvention 2024 in the books, the next major amateur radio convention convenes this month in Germany.
As Ham Radio Friedrichshafen prepares to welcome visitors from the 28th to the 30th of June, Germany itself is preparing to welcome the first amateur radio operators to hold the country's new Class N license. Candidates who have been studying for the big day can sit the Class N license exam at Friedrichshafen, where two of the earliest tests are being given on the 28th and the 29th. A passing grade will give Germany's newest amateurs access to 70 centimeters, 2 meters and 10 meters at a maximum power of 10 watts. The 47th edition of the International Radio Trade Fair, Europe's largest, takes its inspiration this year from the Islands on the Air Award scheme, which is marking its 60th anniversary. The Youth Ham Camp and Ham Rally are both returning following their absence during the COVID pandemic. More than 300 commercial exhibitors and associations are expected to be on hand as well. This is Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
There's amateur radio, there's amateur astronomy, and there's amateur radio astronomy. All of that is about to come together under one roof in upstate New York.
The Chautauqua Amateur Radio Service has quite a few things in common with the Martz Coal Observatory in Frewburg, New York, a nonprofit facility focusing on citizen science, science education, and outreach. What they have most in common are the names on their respective membership rosters. In fact, so many club members belong to the observatory that the next step was a natural progression of their relationship. Club treasurer Bob Swanson, KD2PZV, told the Post-Journal that the Hams have been looking for a permanent home and the observatory seemed to be just the right spot. He said the observatory has a busy calendar of events that can incorporate ham radio participation. In fact, the next event most certainly will be all about amateur radio. It's the ARRL Field Day on June 22nd and 23rd, when the Chautauqua amateurs will be calling CQ Field Day on the observatory property not far from the county's highest points. Bob expressed hope that the observatory and the Hams can craft an agreement that also makes them partners in science education initiatives there. That will help visitors keep an eye on the stars and the planets, as well as on the radio waves everywhere. This is Andy Morrison, K9AWM.
Who's better at building things than some amateur radio operators? Well, one club in Mississippi has been building a partnership with a local library, and it just took a new step in keeping those bonds strong.
The Jackson Amateur Radio Club has already shown its Mississippi community the power of amateur radio thanks to a newly formed partnership with the public library system in suburban Madison County. Now the library has a pair of 3D printers, gifts to the library from the Hams to encourage library patrons to engage in maker activities that might be useful to amateur radio or other electronics-related activities. Frank Howell, K4FMH, described the gift in a recent blog post explaining that the printers, which have a combined retail value of $3,000, will be free for the patrons to use provided they cover the cost of the resin used to print any files. A June 7th press release from the club, Frank, assistant director for ARRL's Delta Division, praised the club as a national leader in creating this kind of relationship with public libraries, calling libraries the most common cultural crossroad in the U.S. Earlier this year, the club hosted the first of what will be quarterly events for the library system, introducing patrons to the process by which they can get their ham radio license. The library system has also committed to having at least one staff member at each branch get their license too, and have a basic radio shack on the premises. This is Sel Emby, KB3 TZD.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Andy Morrison, K9AWM, Sel Emby, KB3TZD, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
The sun has us in hurry up and wait mode this week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see there really isn't a lot of activity in Earth view. We have the big players, region 3712 and then region 3716. Those are the ones that are giving us the most trouble, along with region 3713. In fact, on the 17th, you can see region 3712 fires off an M-class flare right there. And if you weren't paying attention, you might have thought that this big halo, this asymmetric halo, actually came from this region, because it happened around the same time, along with this other halo that you can see here. This is actually the one that occurred almost simultaneously with this big M flare. And you're thinking, wow, that tiny little thing shot some Earth-directed solar storms? Nope, the sun's fooling us again. These are far-sighted halos, which means the solar storms are being shot away from Earth. And you can guess who that player is that's causing these things to go off. Yep, it's region 3697. This is that old region that gave us that G5 level solar storm way back when, the one that's been hammering Mars as well. And it looks like it might have a companion now, perhaps in region 3691. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But these regions look like they're surviving their far side passage, so expect to see them soon. In fact, as we take a look at the Styx light curves from Solar Orbiter, this is like a solar flare monitor. You can actually see we had an X3 class flare from that region, as well as a couple high M class flares. So it's definitely still big flare players and a lot of big flares going on and radio blackouts going on the sun's far side. And that's what's about to rotate back into Earth view. And again, how do we know that? Well, as we ask the Styx instrument to tell us where it's seeing this on the disk, you can see this as the Styx instrument looks at the sun from the far side. This region here is where it's seeing all those solar flares. And yep, that's exactly where we expect region 3697 to be right about now. So this region is going to still be giving us some trouble, it looks like, for the third rotation in a row, if you can believe that. Outside of that, as we return to our Earth-facing disk, well, we've actually been dodging a lot of bullets. First, we had this big filament erupt here. Whoosh, you can see it there. Then we had a filament up here in the northwest that erupts in another beautiful display. You can see it whoosh right there. Once again, not Earth-directed. Then we had yet another filament launched down here. You'll see it go whoosh right there, not Earth-directed. And then finally, region 3718, bam, right there, fires off a small M-class flare along with what looks to be an Earth-directed solar storm, but nope, that solar storm looks like it gets sucked back into the sun. It doesn't look like anything escaped, so we are just dodging bullets left and right. Meanwhile, we also have this filament here. This is looking a bit dicey. It is passing through the Earth strike zone now, and it looks like it could erupt. If it does, it could very well be an Earth-directed solar storm launch. So that's something we're paying very close attention to. Outside of that, we also have some fast wind from this coronal hole that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here over the next couple days. But, you know, we're only expecting maybe active conditions from that. So right now, field day looks like it might actually be pretty good for everyone. But we do have to worry about these contenders rotating in from the sun's far side. In fact, as we take a look at the JSOC HMI helioseismology far-sighted viewer, you can see in gray all the players from the front side. You can see region 37, 12, 13, and 16, for example. But you can also see in the gold, which is the far side, you can see region 3697 definitely surviving its far side passage, and 3691 as well. And these regions look like they're getting very close to rotating back into Earth view. You can see there might even be a new region here that's extended 3697. So we'll see what this region looks like as it rotates back into Earth view over the next 3 days or so, which sadly is right about when we're having field day. So what's likely going to happen is as we move in through the weekend, we're going to start seeing noise rising up on the bands. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Hopefully we won't start seeing big solar flares, but it's going to be close. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. And now switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week. We are anticipating some fast solar wind from that coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone. At high latitudes, NOAA's giving us, we're expecting about active conditions starting around Saturday with up to about a 35% chance of a major storm. But again, this is at high latitudes. It shouldn't be too bad. It's not like any of the big storms, that launch towards us. And that fast solar wind is not expected to really wallop us too hard. So for field day, could be a little bit problematic, but more at the nighttime hours than the daytime hours. And now as we switch to our mid-latitude aurora, well, we're looking for the same conditions. We are going to be on a wind watch, and then we're expecting the fast wind hitting on Saturday. But we're really just going to be expecting unsettled conditions for the rest of this week. We've got about a 10% chance of minor storm conditions, and I've extended that out to Sunday. But again, as long as we don't get any big solar storm launches like that filament that's going through the Earth strike zone, it looks like field day might not be too bad, especially around mid-latitudes and especially during the daytime. Now, as we switch to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are sitting around 190s right now for solar flux. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good range. We're also going to be riding possibly up back into the 200s here over the next few days as those old regions begin to rotate into Earth view. Let's hope that doesn't completely happen until we get through field day. Meanwhile, we're expecting moderate noise on the bands. NOAA's giving us about a 55 to 60% chance of M-class flares. This is at the R1 to R2 level radio blackout. I'm expecting that to move at least up to about 65% as we move into the early part of next week. Plus, we're sitting at about a 5 to 10% chance of X-class flares over the next couple days, and I expect that's also going to rise here pretty quickly as these new regions rotate into Earth view. But for the most part, things should be about the same as they've been. Maybe a bit more noise on the bands than you've been dealing with over the last week, but not too bad for field day. Now, as we switch to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, everything is in the green when it comes to radiation storms. We're sitting at the D1 normal range. That's at flight level 360 for you aviators. This is also the S0 quiet range for everyone else. NOAA's giving us about a 5 to possibly 10% chance of radiation storms over the next few days, and this is because we have region 37, 12, and 16 rotating to the sun's west limb. That always seems to up the chances. Plus, we do have those new regions, or rather those returning regions, rotating into Earth view here as we move into the early part of next week, and that could also very well rise the risk for radiation storms. So expect things to be reasonably calm, especially for you frequent flyers and you air crew. There shouldn't be a huge risk, but you'll always want to keep your eye on those ICAO advisories in case these conditions change.
All righty, there you go. That is the latest from Amateur Radio Newsline and Dr. T this week. Be sure to follow her on X at Tamitha Skov, and of course, her YouTube channel is the same. And then there is spaceweatherwoman.com. And that's all I have here, guys and gals. Oh, a belated Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there watching. And Gordon, that includes you as a fur baby dad. All the fur baby dads, they listen, they count. I love my fur babies as well. So our animals are our children. And so, yeah, fur baby parents, absolutely.
Aw, so sweet. Well, happy Father's Day to you as well, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
You're such a great dad.
I try.
Okay, it's that time. It's ham it or can it or what?
Yay!
All right.
Oh boy, you guys are so funny. Okay, start sharing. You see it?
It is there.
Okay, I just wanted to go over real quick some bonus points. I would have just been whistling throughout Gordo's whole segment. So 100% emergency power, you get 100 points per station. Media publicity, we've already gone over that. Information booth, not the kissing booth, Don. Don't confuse them.
Dang it.
Your satellite cues, so those natural power ones, use that Bieno for that. And as you can see, tons. Go to bonus points. Every time you get one youth on the air and they make even one contact, that's an extra 20 points. So get those kiddos on there. And don't forget, we have a new one. The site responsibilities bonus is new this year. So they take on full responsibility to make sure the safety manager is doing their job as well as everything else. So an extra 100 points for having somebody dedicated to that. So, all right, let's get to ham it or can it or what am it. Let me blow this up. First of all, I didn't know this. Canada has CanWarn, so basically a Skywarn in Canada. I just found that interesting, so very cool. And they have that June 20th this year. Let's see this. What am it? What is an Eton? Have any of you guys know?
Oh, yeah.
Do any of you guys know what this is?
Yeah, Eaton is
that's a
shortwave receiver.
Eton used to be Grundig, I believe, and
100%.
I've got an Eton generator-powered radio, emergency radio with a light and everything on it for AM and FM. Yeah.
Well, this
good
fellow
stuff.
was listening to the Dodgers on it, so I thought it was pretty cool.
As such things have gone well, as one of those brands.
This is just cute and crazy. This is a crazy shack. This is W9LRS ham shack. He obviously is in a yammer like crazy. He's warm in the summer and the winter time. This was just a really cool kind of little pipe fitting setup to hold his dipole out there on his POTAs. So he spray painted everything black, but those are all just plumbing parts that he screwed together. Really quick and easy, and I just really liked it. Thought it was really cute
Ingenious.
looking. Yeah, and
Nice.
it blends in with the wilderness. It's not like bright white PVC pipe or anything like that.
Is that a hummingbird feeder on the bottom?
Kind of looks like it though, but it's a nice dipole with, I don't know what balun that is, but it's a nice setup. Good job. This was a what am it? Actually, it looks like he's just building a bunch of kits.
Those
but-
are Mesh-tastics. Those are
Are they?
Mesh-tastics. Yeah, it's a
See, I
T-deck.
always-
It's a LilyGo T-deck.
Okay, well, this guy is really into these, and everything I picked out this week is basically from Instagram, which I don't peruse through there very often, so I found a lot of cool stuff this week.
Massive
Let's see.
update coming to those.
This is just funny. Don't use in case of an emergency. I second that opinion.
Oh, no.
Wow.
The tech
Sorry.
prepper. Well, he loves that radio. Oh, no, wait. No, he had they did a big video with another big YouTube, and the G90 had a failure. And so now I think the tech prepper he's stepping away from the shagoos.
Okay. Well, I just started following him, and he's got a lot of
He's
stuff.
great.
I love this antenna. I love this whole setup for the 705. It's great.
Look at
Josh,
that.
do you have that set up?
As much as I love the armor case, it makes it even bigger, and I want my QRP radios to be highly portable and small. So mine goes in a nice little
gotcha.
full padded hydration pouch with a zipper, and that's what I use.
Okay, let me try to blow this up. I see some people squinting, so I'm sorry. There you go. I really like
Does
the
look
antenna.
nice.
I thought
Yeah,
it
great
was
picture.
sweet.
10 is cool.
What else do we get next?
It is a good picture. Nice composition.
Yeah.
But that's not why you tuned in.
Why am I not switching?
All of a sudden, we're
Okay,
cheeking
here we go.
photographic technique.
All right. This one, I thought this was really neat. I don't know much about it, but this Clockwork U console. So I want to learn more about it, and I thought everybody else might want to learn more about it. So check it out.
I can tell you all about it. I got one right here.
Do you really? Shut up.
It's
Of
right
course
there.
he does.
It's right there. I got it.
Yeah, you like it, Josh? It looks pretty cool.
It's a Raspberry Pi. If you like Raspberry
Okay.
Pi, it's great.
Oh, okay. I mean, I wouldn't say I would want to use this outside in like bright sun because I don't think it would work very well. Like you wouldn't be able to see the screen.
I agree. Yep.
But it looks fun to play with.
You'd have to get the shadow box around the screen, like Gordon said, for laptops on field day.
Yes, use the shadow box for sure. This was just a really cool UHF antenna for 70 centimeters. I've never seen one like it, so I'm showing it to all
Is
of
that
you.
like a stacked backplane?
Isn't it the most bizarre thing? I
is
didn't get the.
Looks like a broadcast antenna almost.
It kind of does.
The
but-
bow tie elements. Those are bow tie elements, aren't they?
But I think those are the reflectors, and the driven angles are the
Could
driven
very
are
well
those
be, yeah.
dipoles that are on the
I
other
can't see
side.
it. It's really
I
small
don't know.
on my screen.
I can
so
try to
can't see
blow it
very
up.
well.
Yeah, our screens are a little bit smaller.
What do you think
but-
it is, Gordo?
A helix antenna for satellite reception in the above 70 degrees. Mariners use them.
Are they
Really?
active, or is it
There you
all
go.
receive?
No, just the bottom is active, the feed point, and the rest are just either driven elements or the reflector, like you said.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Very cool.
Love it.
Okay.
Gordo, the answer man.
And what else we got? Stop doing this. Stop, people. Just can it. Stop doing these AI photos because seriously, people cannot tell the difference.
It
I
does
know
look
that
pretty
this
cool. It does look pretty cool, though, Amanda. You have to admit.
Yeah. Sadly, it's doesn't exist.
It's so realistic. It's messing with people's minds. So mine included. I just don't. Okay, never mind. I digress. This is just awesome. This is in his apartment, and a slinky coil dipole, 10 to 40. Awesome. Good job. I don't know how many contacts you made on it, or if your smoke detectors go off in your home, but it looks pretty cool.
Good. I think
I'd like to take it camping with me, actually. So that's for this week's edition of Ham It or Can It.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, I love that. I love you're finding all kinds of cool stuff too. I love that.
It's bizarre what people put out there. I can't wait for the field day version to come out in 2 weeks. So
yes.
Wow, 2 weeks. It's going to be the 4th. The 3rd. So that's crazy. Anyhow, Listen for Me as One Charlie on the air this weekend. And Dawn, you're not doing field day?
No, got to work.
Okay.
Got to work.
We are 5 Foxtrot out of the Emergency Operations Center in Costa Mesa, 5F.
Very cool. Very cool. And Josh, what's your club call?
W6TRW. We've got 5 operators. I don't know. We're a club, outdoors, and emergency power. So would that be a Charlie or an Alpha? It's a club.
You're
so
definitely it's a club, so it's going to be Alpha Bravo, actually.
Yeah. So Alpha Bravo LAX, because we'll be in the LAX ARRL section. So yeah, come on out. We'll be at Friendship Park in PV. Palos Verdes.
Okay. Well,
sounds friendly.
Everybody have fun during field day. By the way, be safe. My God, just as soon as lightning comes, go away. Wrap it up. Do not climb on anything without head protection, eye protection, gloves.
Harnesses.
I do not want, harnesses. I do not want to see any of these. I do not want an AR Newsline article about any injuries during field day or any deaths. Please, please be safe, be careful, have fun, enjoy those bratwursts and sausages, and that's about it. Oh, we have some nuts probably going on.
I tell the story almost every year about using the pickle jar tied to a piece of line to loft an antenna wire over the trees. Not a good idea, especially when it hits the jogging track.
Oh no!
Don't do that.
Wait, they were throwing a glass jar to get a line?
Yeah,
no.
It was like pickle relish, like for the hot dogs. And I said, "Oh, well, it's just going to go in the grass anyway. We're going to catch it. As soon as it hits, we're going to grab the line and break the line." Well, as soon as it left Steve N5SC's hand, I could see in my mind's eye the arc, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to end well." And it went right over the tree, and it went right down in the middle of the asphalt jogging track in the park, and just.
What was wrong with the wrench?
Don't do that. Okay. Also, don't stand on aluminum ladders in the rain, putting antennas up with lightning around. That's not a good. Three extras were involved in that little. I was not one of them.
Now they're extra spicy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
No, luckily nobody crisped up, thankfully. But yeah, be safe and don't do stupid stuff. Although you will anyway. But
you will do stupid stuff.
Try to keep the stupidity to a reasonable level.
Send me your stupid pictures, by the way.
Yes, it's great for Ham It, Cam It, or One Ham It.
Oh no! Well,
I'll take those. Let's see.
Spell out your call sign. Spell out your call sign in bacon in the front.
There you go.
We did that. We did that.
Good
well,
idea.
we almost got it. Somebody grabbed some bacon. We couldn't quite make W5ABD. Part of the D was missing.
Brian on the air is not a thing, folks. Okay.
Brian in the air, though.
Brian in. Okay. All right. Nets. 14 Charlie for D-Star Net happening now. Kev should be on around 7190, 7192. And Steve should probably be around 14,280. So listen up for those. Have fun this weekend at 7-3, and we'll see you on July 3rd. And I don't know what our show's going to be about yet, but I'll figure it out.
Be safe. Have fun.
73. See ya.
7-3.
Good night.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we survived another one.
Use a half-empty water bottle, plastic water bottle, to throw a line.